Off the South African coast near Durban, the Natal Sharks Board makes its daily patrol. These waters are home to one of the most feared sharks, the great white. To protect people from attacks, miles of permanent nets line the beaches. Big sharks rarely swim into these nets, but recently, the biggest great white caught since 2002 was fatally trapped in them.
1, 2, 3! 1, 2, 3!
By carefully dissecting this giant, a team of scientists will uncover the hidden wonders of this mighty predator. They'll find out how sharks became the biggest fish in the seas.
This is freaky.
The reality behind those infamous jaws.
The important thing is the teeth, the sharpness of the teeth.
And how they can hone in on their prey from miles away.
Hopefully it doesn't like human blood.
They'll uncover the great white secrets from the inside out. Great white sharks are regular visitors to the rugged coastline of Mossel Bay. But the huge great white, caught further up the coast, presents a unique opportunity for experts to learn about the shark's anatomy. British veterinary scientist Mark Evans joins an international team.
Wow. That's some collection, isn't it?
From South Africa, leading shark attack expert Jeremy Cliff. His jaw collection is the stuff of nightmares.
Unfortunately, we've still got this paranoia that general public have with sharks. The old adage, the only good shark is a dead shark.
From Italy, shark researcher Enrico Gennari.
Yeah!
He likes it!
He risks life and limb for his passion.
We know some sharks for years. You know, when you go out with your buddies to have a beer, you know them by name.
And from New York, comparative anatomist Joy Reidenberg, whose scalpel's always ready for a new species.
Just remember to close the top. I don't want to be sitting in a bait box. It's huge.
It's much bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be this big.
Wow.
It's really a big animal. And looks like it's a female.
So it's a female. Do we know what weight it is? How old do you think it might be?
900 kilos, probably in the region of about 12 years old.
That's a big fish.
The scientists want to look under its skin to reveal the great white's strengths and weaknesses. Why it will die if it ever stops swimming. How it's evolved to become such a formidable athlete. And how its internal organs cope with the wildest feeding frenzies. But the more immediate mystery with this shark is what's in its mouth. It looks like its last meal, but it's not.
This is the stomach, and there are two possible hypotheses why the stomach is out. Sharks are able to revert the stomach to get rid of their stomach contents in case you know, they have something that they can't really digest.
So kind of like a form of vomiting, then, essentially.
Basically, yes.
That's so weird.
Yeah, there's like...
That really is weird.
And then another possibility is that in terms of stress, they also can get stressed and release the stomach out too. But, you know.
It seems that this shark vomited out its own stomach in its struggle to escape from the beach protection net, and then suffocated.
First job is obviously going to be to get it onto the dissection table so that we can get it down and then orientate it to start the dissection.
Philip Zungu, the Natal Sharks Board's most experienced dissector, makes the first cut. Joy's raring to join in. She's dissected many whales before, but this is her first great white.
Joy, how does this compare to cutting whales in terms of the flesh?
It's actually harder to cut because the skin is so rough, it dulls the knife. It's like cutting through sandpaper. Whereas when you're cutting a whale, even though they have blubber and they have a much thicker skin, it's more like cutting Jell-O. So you can actually slice through it fairly easily and really can feel it like sandpaper.
Exactly.
Getting caught on it like sandpaper.
It was used, actually, shark skin
Really?
and sandpaper, and still in some places around Australia, it's still used.
Amazing, yeah.
In fact, closer examination of the shark's rough skin provides clues to its evolution.
If you should happen to be in a position to stroke a shark, you can do it one way like that, but if you do it the other way, it's rough. And the reason is that the whole skin is covered with little tiny teeth. If you look at an ordinary fish, like a trout, it's covered with scales, and there are various fossil groups of fish which are covered with bony armor plating. But sharks have this immensely tough chain mail, and it's made of little miniature teeth. They're just the same as the big teeth which sharks use to eat with. It looks as though probably what happened in evolution is that the microteeth of the skin became the teeth that they used to eat.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
It's just amazing how those animals adapt. From their evolution point of view, these teeth come from the shark skin.
Yes, but it seems pretty loose when you touch them.
Come in here,
They
are.
wiggle.
They're very loose.
Oh, they really are
The amount of
loose.
movement in that.
I really thought these were going to be fixed into the jaws.
The last thing you'd expect in a shark is wobbly teeth. Yet somehow they've turned an apparent weakness into a deadly advantage.
We have a look at the jaw of a great white. You'll see the teeth are V-shaped and serrated, but what's really amazing is that there's so many teeth produced. If you look there, you can see their teeth in rows behind the functional row that are just waiting to replace the outer row.
So you've got one row of teeth that's actually functional, but you've got all these other teeth as kind of spares in the wings behind.
Yes, they're essentially just waiting to replace the outer teeth. The teeth are not embedded in sockets like we have with mammals, but they're connected to a layer of tissue very similar to our fingernails. And that tissue is growing from the inside of the jaw out. It's a continuous process, very slow. And as that tissue grows, so the teeth right at the front of the mouth eventually will fall off.
Exactly.
That's a phenomenal adaptation, isn't it, for a predator? Because if you've got a big land mammal predator like a lion, once it's broken its adult teeth, it's done for. It's doomed completely. Whereas for the shark, it just waits and another new set come along. So it's extraordinary when you think how
easily I could be eaten by this.
fully jacked open. If you were a Cape fur seal,
Oh, yeah.
I'd be dead.
chopped in half and a
I'd
good
be
chunk of
beheaded.
food. Wow, that's amazing.
Enrico wants the team to meet his razor-sharp friends. He's going to find out how hard they really bite and track their movements across the bay.
This is charm, and this usually attract white shark. It's like making homemade pasta. It gives you also some kind of pride. They feel the passion in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's made with my heart.
And your feet.
This cocktail of crushed fish soon draws in hungry seagulls looking for an easy meal. There's no sign of any sharks, but Enrico believes the omens are good.
That's the sound of a shark, that seagull that just made like a... Ah!
That seagull say, shark!
Yeah, shark!
Shark! Wait, here comes something. There's
making a
something here,
beeline.
Claude. The shark.
Beeline to
Shark,
us.
shark. There it is. It's
There
by
we
the,
go.
It's by the bait.
Okay.
Here we go, everybody. A bigger one.
Woo!
He's
Oh,
he's going
man, look
under.
at that.
How exciting is that? They are so close.
That's the front, Ian.
Whoa!
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 It's huge.
Oh my God, that's huge. That's as big as the one we looked at.
Hey, good boy.
Didn't I promise you a big one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's big enough?
It's scary.
Okay.
Mossel Bay, where this shark is being dissected, is a popular resort. Its waves attract surfers, and its fur seals draw in great whites. An uneasy harmony exists between the two. Only a few weeks before, a surfer near here was killed by a great white. Great whites rarely attack humans. When they do, the surprising fact is that most people survive the ordeal. To find out why, the team is going to investigate the anatomy of the shark bite.
We could see the upper jaw over here, and we're trying to dissect a way into this big muscle.
We're talking about the jaw closers are all this bit here. So
Yes.
we're just seeing a part of it here, but it's
It only weighs 55 kilos. There you go.
That's a very big piece of chub.
I just waited for my chance to be shark bait. just remember to close the top. I don't want to be sitting in a bait box. Okay.
Joy has reason to be wary. She's seen the YouTube clips of what can go wrong.
After seeing that one that swam by, I'm a little scared actually. They are so beautiful to watch. And they look so peaceful, and they don't look very aggressive. How could this be a harmful animal? It's so gorgeous.
You're right.
Oh my God.
You're right?
Yeah. I think I was so excited I bit my lip. I'm bleeding.
Wow.
I was so excited watching them down there. And then, especially when it came really, really close and you could see that dark eye.
Some people think that sharks, the white shark eye is dead basically. It's dark and without any emotion. But when you interact daily with them, you see that, as you said, they're checking you out. Maybe it's not because they're interested in you as a bait, a prey, but they're interested in you
Just
because
curious,
they're just
right?
interested in you, full stop.
The eye of the great white is mesmerizing. It never blinks because it has no eyelid. Some say they never sleep, but no one knows for sure.
These eyes are unusual. They're very, very big compared to other sharks, aren't they?
They are, and it suggests that for white sharks, vision is probably quite important. So they never close their eyes, other than the moment of striking their prey, where they'll actually just move the eye back. See how the eye just rolls back in its socket.
So it just rolls it completely back out of the way to protect it.
Look at the eye roll back after this attack. Great whites are unusual. Other sharks use a different strategy to protect their eyes. Although great whites don't have a protective eyelid, along with their rollback mechanism, they have another layer of defense.
We've taken the eye out from the socket. We're going to just place it on the back of the shark here and try to cut through it.
Otherwise, just cut with a scalpel. Hang on.
It's really hard. It just shows you how effective this could be against a seal claw.
I was going to suggest just if you cut a ring around with a scalpel like that.
Very
Yeah,
solid.
just take the... Well, that helps answer the question, doesn't it? It's a very, very thick-walled eye.
Let's try cutting this way.
That's it.
Okay, so let's just very carefully just try and separate that off there. Okay.
Oh, look, Mark.
So that's its
That's
lens.
the lens.
So here,
So if we pop that out, it'll be very round. You got it?
I've got it. So there it is. It's like it's like a marble.
Really round.
Yeah, that is absolutely stunning.
The shark's excellent vision is a vital asset, but it has a battery of other senses to help track down its prey.
One of the senses that we often hear about with sharks is their ability to detect blood in the water. So to smell their prey is pretty incredible. They have a nose like we do. Unlike us and a shark, each nostril has an inlet to let the water in and also an outlet to let the water out. And the nose is particularly adapted for picking up small particles such as blood. So they compare one nostril to the other to detect which direction the scent is coming from and home in on it, kind of like a bloodhound.
I mean, we've got no ears on this.
Well, actually, there is an ear inside, but there's only a tiny remnant to the outside. So their sense of hearing might not be very directional, but they have this to make up for it. It has a special sensory system called the lateral line, which is really tuned into vibrations. And it actually can be seen all along this part of the body here. There's little dimples all along the skin. And if we look very close here where we've cut into the skin, you can actually see the lateral line system cutting cross-section, bringing input back to the brain to let the shark know that it sensed some vibration in the water. As it hones in on its prey and it rolls its eyes back in its socket to protect the eyes, it's now blind, so it has to use another sense to detect where its prey is, and that's this electromagnetic sense. So all of these little pores on the front of the snout, which are called the ampullae of Lorenzini, which have this jelly in them, are able to detect an electromagnetic field, which is what is emitted from every living creature. And that is picked up by the brain as another sense, a unique sense that these animals have.
This part of the shark is very sensitive, and with a white shark, if you push the nose back, actually it's like overloading their sense, and they get in a kind of almost sleeping mode for a few seconds.
So if you punch a shark in the nose, you could basically hypnotize it.
You could, I don't know, I wouldn't try with this one, but
No, I'm not planning on sticking my head into the shark's face.
Girl.
This is a girl.
How do you know?
How do we know?
Which a girl which is a man?
Because if you look at the other end of the shark, it has special fins. And the fins look different in the boys than they do in the girls.
Oh, now I understand.
This female's special fins are hidden under her massive bulk. On a smaller hammerhead shark, Joy tells the fishy version of the birds and the bees.
If you look at this part of the shark, these are the fins near the anus. And if you look right inside the fins, you see these little bumps right here? That's what boy sharks have. Girl sharks don't have that. So that's how you know, without even opening it up, whether it's a boy or a girl.
Oh, now I see.
These little bumps are called claspers, and they're used like a penis is used. So they insert these into the girl and use this to put the sperm inside.
No one has ever seen great whites mate. But if they perform like these white tip sharks, they'll need that armored skin to protect them from the world's most dangerous love bite. Sharks mate more like mammals than most other fish. The females keep their eggs within their bodies, and the males fertilize them inside. When angler Sean Gregory started gutting a shark on a beach in North Carolina, his friends were in for a shock.
Oh my God! Oh, it's a baby. It's a baby shark. It's a baby in there. It's a baby shark. You can save the baby.
Where?
Where's the fish? Don't hurt it. Don't hurt it. Don't hurt it.
Right here?
Yeah, in that
Yes. It's a baby.
Oh, sure.
It's got gills. Oh my God! What's that?
Ooh.
Sean, you're giving birth to a shark.
It's birth by Sean section.
Oh, don't hurt it. Put it back out there.
We catch them that big.
Get it, girl. Save the baby.
So far, we've seen how sharks use their senses to hunt prey, and how their infamous jaws evolved. Next, we want to investigate what keeps these huge animals afloat, and how they propel themselves so fast.
One, two, three! One, two, three!
Yes! Yes!
Well done, guys.
Yeah! Yes!
Sharks have one vital organ that holds the key to how they became so big. To reach it, Philip cuts through the white underbelly that gives the great white its name.
Joy, have you ever seen such a big liver in your life?
No, I've never. Not even in the biggest whales have I seen a liver quite like this.
It's coming, it's coming.
This is just one of the 3 lobes. This is only one. This is one.
One liver leg.
One.
Whoa.
This is freaky.
Careful, guys. It's going down. It's going down. Okay, 1, 2.
Is that another lobe too?
Yeah. This is 2. Okay.
All right, here comes the rest. Oh, here we go. Whoa. Let hosing
Wait,
down about.
you forgot the one piece. Try to lie down.
Yeah.
It's about your size.
You want to see if
yeah?
it's as big as me?
It's bigger than you.
What do you think?
2 inches longer than you.
I am totally mind-boggled by this. I can't believe how big this liver is. It's bigger than I am.
In nature, you have to always think why something happened. So why this liver is so big. If you look at the shark, and you can see that inside doesn't have, like other fish have, the swim bladder. The swim bladder basically is a gas chamber that expands and decreases volume in order to help the fish to float.
Like a buoyancy compensator that a scuba diver would wear, where you can change the volume and change the buoyancy that you need to be at
It's exactly
to keep them
the same.
neutrally buoyant in the water.
Exactly, it's exactly the same thing.
There's something in this that helps it with buoyancy, but what? How?
If you think what it does when you put liver in water,
Well, put a piece in and we will do a mini test.
here we have sheep liver.
So this is lamb's liver.
Okay, let's see what it does.
So it's on the bottom. Yeah.
It's definitely in the bottom.
It sinks, which is a good thing. That liver's normal.
Okay, let's try with the shark liver. Okay, let's cut a piece of it. Let's try.
Oh, yeah.
Voila.
And it floats.
So what does it tell you?
It's got an inbuilt buoyancy aid.
This is like a big life preserver.
Exactly. The liver is full of this oil that is called squalene, from the name of squalus, that is a shark, basically.
Okay.
And it is a very fat liver, very dense in oil. If you put oil in water, what happened to the oil?
It floats.
It floats. And the first thing that you said about this thing, you said, is huge, and you think it weighs a lot. And actually, it helped the shark not to sink.
Another thing that helps the buoyancy of sharks is that they don't have a single bone in their body. Unlike us and most other vertebrates, where our skeleton is mostly made of hard, solid bone, sharks have cartilage instead of bone. Their skeleton is made of cartilage. We have cartilage in our ears and in our noses, and in the embryo, all our bones start off as cartilage. But a shark only has cartilage. And this gives them lightness, it gives them a flexibility, and it enables them to become the largest fish in the sea.
Today, the very largest is the whale shark, which can weigh up to 20 tons. They're harmless filter feeders that swim around sucking in plankton. But have there ever been any larger sharks?
If you walk around any museum in the world, you will see lots of fossils, all kinds of animals, including dinosaurs. But the one thing you won't see is very many sharks. One of the problems of sharks having no bones, only cartilage, is that they rather seldom fossilize. The teeth are very hard, and so most of the fossil sharks that we know about, we know only from the teeth. Have a look at this. This is a single tooth of Megalodon, a giant extinct shark, 3 times the size of a great white, 20 meters long. That must have been a simply terrifying thing to meet in the sea.
Just like the serrated teeth in a great white, these were used for slicing, not chewing. So Megalodon and the great white both had to evolve a digestive system that could cope with huge chunks of food. What's surprising when you look at what's left after the liver's been removed is that there are hardly any guts at all.
So this is essentially its intestines, which is a very peculiar shape.
It looks very straight. You expect it to be all coiled up like it is in a mammal. In a human, you'd have about 8 meters of this going back and forth, twisting around.
Completely bizarre. So can we have a look inside and see how that works?
Yeah, let's cut it open and see how it's arranged. That has an interesting smell. This fish has definitely been eating something.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the gills. Look at all these little
incredible.
folds.
It's like just leaves. So what's the flow through here then? Because we know the stomach's avulsed through the mouth, so that bit's up there.
But once you've gotten into the beginning of the intestinal tract, which starts right about here somewhere, but the solids would go all around the periphery here in each one of these grooves. It looks like a big spiral staircase. Here's the beginning of the spiral right here. See how my finger goes underneath like that? So this is one plate right there.
Okay, so it's then going in like this.
Right, so it'd go into the next plate, which would take it around to the next level. It would come around into here, and there's the entrance to the next one. And it just keeps going around.
Wow. I mean, the whole point of any intestines is to get big surface area for absorption of nutrients from the food.
Well, I think you're getting it here over a very short length.
That is such a neat solution to the problem, isn't it?
This spiral valve is surely one of the most compact digestive systems to evolve in such a large animal, although it seems to have one serious flaw. Unlike crocodiles, sharks find it hard to digest bone. That's why they need to invert their stomachs when they've bitten off more than they can chew.
Is this a really slow process? Because, I mean, being, it's a fish, it's cold-blooded, so on that basis, does it have a very slow metabolism, a very slow digestion?
You're talking about fish in general?
I'm talking about this one. I mean, it's cold-blooded, so therefore slow system.
I have to give you a bad news, actually. These are not cold-blooded animals.
But it's a fish.
Yeah. Unlikely the majority of fish, these are able to maintain higher body temperature than the external water temperature.
So they're warm-blooded?
Yeah.
How does a fish achieve that?
In order to show you that, we have to cut in section, and it's going to be easier to show you that. We can start cutting from here and going backward.
Okay, so here's a knife.
Enrico wants to expose the tail muscles to see how they increase the shark's body temperature. During a lifetime of constant swimming, they can travel 20 times round the Earth. Yet they also have enough reserve power for sudden bursts of acceleration.
This is the powerhouse of this shark. This is what propels almost a ton of shark through the water, and it's always swimming. So this thing is going backwards and forwards the whole time, but also can get this thing right out of the water, which is some feat.
In very few seconds, yes.
So what drives this?
Is inside here.
Okay. And you cut right through, and this is just jam-packed with muscle.
Over 85–90% of this is just muscle.
Absolutely extraordinary. Is it all the same kind of muscle?
No, the red muscle sustains the majority of the swimming of the shark. The white muscle instead is used for sudden burst. So like the breaching out of the water, it comes all from the white.
So these guys generating most of the heat then, by that constant, just slow movement, they're constantly generating heat. They're like a furnace.
Exactly. They constantly generate heat. And
it turns out this continual firing of the deep red muscles is what makes these sharks warm-blooded.
So having higher temperature, the vision, the stomach, the muscle work in a much better way.
So I guess sharks don't kill in cold blood anymore, do they?
Exactly. Not a cold-blooded killer. Yeah, you're right.
Enrico's love affair with the great white began as a boy when he saw a film about sharks. Later, he left Italy for Mossel Bay to try to find out more about these elusive giants.
Safe, off.
He tracks their movements by darting them with radio tags.
This is Pasella, guys. Being so long in the same place, we know some sharks for years. Like when you go out with your buddies to have a beer, you know them by name. And of course, the one that you remember the most are the biggest and the most charismatic ones. Pasella is not very big, but is very feisty. Coming. Maybe another shark is better for tagging. Okay, ready?
Perfect. You got it perfect.
Done! Well done! Mission accomplished. Bye-bye. Go and do your sharky business. White shark is the iconic shark in terms of fear. People hate them. People want to kill them. And I mean, when I was a kid, I always support for the Indians rather than the cowboys. I always supported the weakest side. And that's why I really want to, with my study, to make a difference.
We know what Enrico thinks about sharks, but what goes on in the mind of a great white? Joy has one final cut to make. She's about to lift the lid on its very weird brain. To discover how a shark thinks, Joy must first slice through a cartilage cranium that's an inch thick.
Oh, now we're free. Okay, let's turn up jaws here. Oh, yes.
And how are you going to turn it? Do you want it?
I'm just finished cutting off the last bit of cartilage. And now what we're looking into is the actual cavity where the brain sits. And in the middle here is the brain. So the thinking part of the brain is actually right over here. It's fairly small. Most of the rest of this brain is involved in sensory perception. And if you go forward, you see it's actually a Y-shaped brain as it terminates in these two canals, one for each of the nasal openings. But most of what you're seeing here is all processing sensation, smell, vision, these ampullae of Lorenzini, which are not just under the front of the nose, they're all across the top of the head. So this brain might be small, but it's super specialized. It's really focused on all of these special senses. So this animal is thinking in a very different way than we do. We might sit around and think about stuff using a lot of our gray matter. These animals are working mostly on instinct, but they're processing so much more sensory information.
The great white's killer instinct has propelled it to the summit of the ocean's food chain. But we're not part of that food chain. More people are killed by kitchen toasters than sharks. The truth is, it's the sharks who should fear us. Every year, 70 million are killed for their fins and left to die.
Everyone knows that tigers are an endangered species, but it's said that there are fewer great white sharks left in the world than tigers. Sharks have been around as top predators for hundreds of millions of years, but sadly it seems that now they may have met their match.
They unfortunately are very misunderstood. The only thing that people see is actually this one, the teeth, the jaws.
Boy, see, there's so many special features about this animal that make it such an incredible creature. So it's more than just a mouth with teeth.
Yeah,
it's not just jaws.
So kind of like a form of vomiting then,
Basically, yes.
It's so weird.
Yeah, there's like...
That really is weird.
And then another possibility is that in terms of stress, they also can get stressed and release the stomach out too. But, you know.
It seems that this shark vomited out its own stomach in its struggle to escape from the beach protection net, and then suffocated.
First job is obviously going to be to get it onto the dissection table so that we can get it down and then orientate it to start the dissection.
Philip Zungu, the Natal Sharks Board's most experienced dissector, makes the first cut. Joy's raring to join in. She's dissected many whales before, but this is her first great white.
Joy, how does this compare to cutting whales in terms of the flesh?
It's actually harder to cut because the skin is so rough, it dulls the knife. It's like cutting through sandpaper. Whereas when you're cutting a whale, even though they have blubber and they have a much thicker skin, it's more like cutting jello. It's huge.
It's much bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be this big.
Wow.
It's really a big animal. And looks like it's a female.
So it's a female. Do we know what weight it is? How old do you think it might be?
900 kilos, probably in the region of about 12 years old.
That's a big fish.
The scientists want to look under its skin to reveal the great white's strengths and weaknesses. Why it will die if it ever stops swimming. How it's evolved to become such a formidable athlete. And how its internal organs cope with the wildest feeding frenzies. But the more immediate mystery with this shark is what's in its mouth. It looks like its last meal, but it's not.
This is the stomach, and there are two possible hypotheses why the stomach is out. Sharks are able to revert the stomach to get rid of their stomach contents in case you know, they have something that they can't really digest.
The huge great white, caught further up the coast, presents a unique opportunity for experts to learn about the shark's anatomy. British veterinary scientist Mark Evans joins an international team.
Wow, that's some collection, isn't it?
From South Africa, leading shark attack expert Jeremy Cliff. His jaw collection is the stuff of nightmares.
Unfortunately, we've still got this paranoia that the general public have with sharks. The old adage, the only good shark is a dead shark.
From Italy, shark researcher Enrico Gennari.
Yeah! He likes it!
He risks life and limb for his passion.
We know some sharks for years. You know, when you go out with your buddies to have a beer, you know them by name.
And from New York, comparative anatomist Joy Reidenberg, whose scalpel's always ready for a new species.
Just remember to close the top. I don't want to be sitting in a bait box.
Off the South African coast near Durban, the Natal Sharks Board makes its daily patrol. These waters are home to one of the most feared sharks, the great white. To protect people from attacks, miles of permanent nets line the beaches. Big sharks rarely swim into these nets, but recently, the biggest great white caught since 2002 was fatally trapped in them.
1, 2, 3! 1, 2, 3!
By carefully dissecting this giant, a team of scientists will uncover the hidden wonders of this mighty predator. They'll find out how sharks became the biggest fish in the seas.
This is freaky.
The reality behind those infamous jaws.
The important thing is the teeth, the sharpness of the teeth.
And how they can hone in on their prey from miles away.
Hopefully it doesn't like human blood.
They'll uncover the great white secrets from the inside out. Great white sharks are regular visitors to the rugged coastline of Mossel Bay.
So you can actually slice through it fairly easily. You really can feel it like sandpaper.
Exactly.
Getting caught on it like sandpaper.
It was used, actually, shark skin
Really?
and sandpaper, and still in some places around Australia, it's still used.
Amazing, yeah.
In fact, closer examination of the shark's rough skin provides clues to its evolution.
If you should happen to be in a position to stroke a shark, you can do it one way like that, but if you do it the other way, it's rough. And the reason is that the whole skin is covered with little tiny teeth. If you look at an ordinary fish, like a trout, it's covered with scales, and there are various fossil groups of fish which are covered with bony armor plating. But sharks have this immensely tough chain mail, and it's made of little miniature teeth. They're just the same as the big teeth which sharks use to eat with. It looks as though probably what happened in evolution is that the micro teeth of the skin became the teeth that they used to eat.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
It's just amazing how those animals adapt. From the evolution point of view, these teeth come from the shark skin.
Yes, but it seems pretty loose when you touch them.
I mean, here,
They're very loose.
They're very loose.
Oh, they